It's very common that when you start building your first automations using any automation tool like Zapier, Make, and some other ones, and you get your first error notification on your email, you may panic, right? You get anxious because you don't know what's happening, and you try to find the error and why and what you should do now, right? And because of that, today I'm going to tell you about the 3 most common types of errors that you can get from any automation tool, so you know how to handle those different types of errors, okay? The first one is a server error. Okay, so this is a 500 type of error that you can get from any app, from any tool. It can be either Google, it can be Pipedrive, it can be HubSpot, it can be any tool that you are connected to. You can get this kind of error. And for that, you don't need to worry that much because this is common, this keeps happening, and you can just add an error handler to avoid getting those notifications. The second type of error is a human error, what I like to call it. It's an error because someone triggered the automation without knowing the proper way of triggering the automation. So for example, you are triggering an automation without adding the right data in the right field in order for the automation to run properly, right? So this is a human error, and in order to avoid this, you need to better train your staff, your team members, to explain them how to better trigger every automation there. And the third type of error is in fact an error with the automation, with your Zap, with your Make scenario. So, and of course for that it can vary a lot depending on the type of error, depending on the type of automation that you are building, but there are ways that you can avoid this. So I'm going to show you an example of each type of error here. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so this is the example of the first error type that I mentioned. So this is a server error, and this is very common to happen in any automation using any app or tool. So for this automation, this server error happened with Google Sheets. Okay, so, and again, this is very, very common. So every 500 error that you're gonna get, it's a server error. Okay, so there is not much that you can do. So this is not an issue with your automation. You don't need to fix anything with the automation. One thing that you can do, and of course using here this example on Make, is add an error handler, okay, to avoid getting notified for this type of issue, or even if this keeps happening, to avoid your automation being turned off. Okay, so what you can do, you can go to your diagram here, you can go to your module that keeps getting that server error, and you can right click it and you can click on add error handler, and you can just add the ignore error handler, which is basically ignore this error. So what's gonna do is every time that this type of error that's going to happen, it will just ignore, and it's basically as if your automation ran successfully. Okay, and if you want to specifically add this error handler for the server error, you can even customize it, the type of error that you're gonna add here. So you can add a filter to pass only a specific type of error to your error handler. Okay, so again, this is the first type of error that I mentioned previously. Okay, the next example is an example that is combining number 2 with number 3. The error made by a human that the person doesn't necessarily know how to trigger the automation in the proper way. And the third error is the error with the automation, right? And this example is the combination of both, okay? So for this example, in this automation, we are finding a specific deal, a specific lead on the Monday CRM, and then we are updating that column of the lead that we found here on the Monday CRM board, okay? So of course, in order to update the item, we need to first find it in the CRM, okay? And in order to find it, we are using the same email that we're getting from PandaDoc. So every time a PandaDoc document is completed, what we're doing is we change the status of that lead to 1. Okay, so that means that the contract is signed, the contract is paid, and now we are updating that lead on the CRM to 1. Okay, that's basically what this automation is doing here. But for this to work, the email that's being used on the PandaDoc should be the exact same email that we have here on the CRM. Okay, so what happened here is when this automation triggered, the email that my team member used to send the PandaDoc contract was a different one from the email that was on the CRM. Okay, so with that, the automation couldn't find that lead on the CRM. Okay, so this is a human error, okay, because the team member should know that the mail should match in order this automation to trigger, right? So this is an issue. So the person should know exactly how to trigger the automation and should know all the data points that need to have there before triggering it, okay? So this is a human error, and of course this can be fixed very easily, so we can just match both emails there. And the third issue was, as the item couldn't be found here on Monday, this module couldn't update an item that wasn't found. So we couldn't, in order for this module to trigger, to run, we need to pass the item ID, but we couldn't find any item here. So as you can see, there were 0 bundles here, so we couldn't find the item. So with that, this module had an error because we couldn't pass the item ID. And of course, we need to pass the item ID in order to update that item, right? So this was an issue with the automation, because if the item isn't found in the CRM, we need to add a filter there to avoid getting this type of error. So there is a way that we can do this, and I have already done this, to pass a filter here to make sure that the total number of bundles here on the search module should be equal to 1. So we should find the item, we should find the lead in the CRM in order for this automation to keep running. So I added this filter here to make sure that this module can run without any error. Okay, so with this fixed, now this automation won't get any more errors for this specific module. Okay, hope this video is helpful to you. Hope that by now you can understand more about the different types of errors there, and the next time you get an error notification from Zapier, from Make, you know how to handle them without panicking. Okay, if you need any help to deal with any error, with any automation issue, just click on the link down below so we can get on a call and I can help you fix any automation issue that you are facing. Okay, thank you.